Greetings, fellow humans. You know me as Iceman Caesar, and this is what's up in the world today. It's Grey Cup Sunday here in the land of three-down football. Not just Canada, we got fans worldwide watching the CFL, which is awesome to see. But my pops and his crew are out in Edmonton repping their rider pride hard, geared up head to toe. Wish I was there because, man, not only is Grey Cup is always a fun party, but Edmonton is just raising the bar this year with all the fun stuff that they have for the events for leading up to the game, and then looks like they're doing, Commonwealth is a beautiful stadium to watch football in, so you know that it's just going to be a great atmosphere for the game itself. But finally, the big game is here. Unfortunately, the Riders are not in it, but it's going to be a great game. Calgary trying to finally get that monkey off their back and finally cash in this Grey Cup that they've had come so close to the last 2 years. But, Ottawa is definitely not going to just roll over and let them do it. They've been one of the best teams in the league, and they have been hunting this Grey Cup since day one. Everybody has, but Ottawa has just been, when they played us, they stepped their game to a different level, based on us beating them in the playoffs last year. So Ottawa will be ready to go. Calgary will certainly be ready to go, and it should be a great game, and which is, what we need and what we want for the ultimate game of the season. So hopefully it's a big audience across the globe, because like I say, CFL is attracting fans from not just Canada but lots in the US and even across overseas into Europe and places like that. So it's just awesome to see. Three down football is it's a really fun, great version of football. So, and obviously in Canada, we've built it, and we've been celebrating it for over 100 years. So it's awesome to see the tradition keep going and to see it be so strong. Even though their CFL does have some issues, what we'll talk about. But before talking more about the Grey Cup, I just wanted to kind of take a look back at the Riders' 2018 season. It was one of the more interesting seasons considering the struggles of the offense, but the defense and special teams kept it exciting. So I wanted to kind of look back and talk about the Riders season, and then a little bit of general stuff about the CFL before we finish off with some thoughts, few more thoughts about the Grey Cup, because that's what should be the most important, the actual game. So gonna finish off with that, but we'll start out with the Riders, and definitely not the way we wanted the season to end, especially losing at home to the Bummers. That was a tough pill to swallow, but it's done with now, so there's no point in looking, just holding on to all the frustrations from that game. It's like it's over, and obviously all the coaches are going to be watching tapes, until they're just absolutely fed up with it all off season, to try and figure out what mistakes were made and how to correct them into the next season so that we're not in the same position. And despite the frustrations with the offense, it was actually a really exciting season. With a lot of the games were really close, coming down to the wire, and then the defense and special teams a lot of times would step up with a big touchdown. I mean, Willie Jefferson won the game with an interception touchdown. That was one of the most exciting games I've ever been to live, because you're just, even though it wasn't a big offensive show, it was so close, and you're just waiting for who's going to make that big mistake, and then bam. So it was, on paper you'd look at the numbers of the offense and think, man, that's probably a pretty bad season to watch. But I found it pretty exciting all the way through. Winning 12 games obviously is fun to watch. So despite the frustrations of the lack of offense, it was I thought it was a pretty exciting season, at least for for entertainment value. But let's kind of break it down a little bit, piece by piece. On the leader post, a week or so ago, right after the season, the reporter Murray McCormick posted his season-ending column grading each position. So I figured I would use that as my template for this. Leader Post is a great paper. They have great sports coverage for Riders, Pats, even just sports in general. But so I wanted to use wanted to use his column. Not obviously, I'm not using his column to be like to like attack what he said. Just using it as a template to kind of, because he was, he's a very good reporter for the Riders. Some of his questions over the years to some of the players and coaches have been interesting, but definitely a good reporter. So I figured we'll use the column that he wrote and grading each position. So started off with the lightning rod this season, QB. And Murray's grade for the quarterbacks this year was an F. Can't really blame him for that. But Papa Bear's grade is going to be a C. And I know, with those offensive numbers, it's like, how, I'm sure people would be wondering how I could give it a grade as high as a C. But, despite the ugly numbers, the quarterbacks did lead us to 12 victories. I mean, maybe you could say 11 since the defense and special teams really did win that game versus Edmonton at home, where Willie took the touchdown to the house. I mean, but the offense did they did lead us. I mean, defense wins championships, but offense has to lead the charge. And the offense did lead us to 11 or 12 wins, whichever you want to settle on. But, and a home playoff game. So, and I mean, it's, you can be said, they played well enough, they did not lose us any games. I know that kind of sounds bad sometimes, that's something that losers say or whatever, but I think that is still a significant fact of the season that they did not, even despite the struggles, they didn't struggle bad enough to where the game turned in the other team's favor. Even though they struggled at times, the offense was still able to do enough to keep us in position to win the games. But if you watch the games, a lot of time the offense would drive it down passing, and then they'd get close enough to where they could run or sneak it in. A lot of those touchdowns, a lot of those rushing touchdowns we had this year could have easily been, play action, boom, throw a pass. We had a lot of instances where the offense drove it down close to the goal line, and then it was too high percentage of a play to just run it in. So that's why I settled on the grade of a C, and I didn't want to bring it down close quite to an F, because even though really ugly numbers, I mean the low numbers for touchdowns, it's like when you compare it to other things, it's just like, man, kind of embarrassing. But when you look at the season as a whole, they led us to 12 wins. They did not lose us games. We had a home playoff game, and if you watched every game, you'd see a lot of that. Excuse me. You would have seen a lot of the team driving down close to the end zone and then being able to just run or sneak it in. So it's I don't think we definitely need improvement. And the grade for the future, I would give it as an F, because I think we only have one quarterback under contract, Watford, who is his scrambling ability is is a level that a level I haven't seen in a long time. But you have to be able to throw, and he's a guy that can put it just off. But there's hundreds of guys that can put it just off. You need somebody that puts it on the money. That's just what you need. And so, if he can find a way to get his accuracy down, with his scrambling ability, if he can add his arm into it, man, there's no ceiling for his potential. But I mean, when you look at the quarterback landscape, doesn't look. Even the free agent QBs out there, some of them don't look like they fit into our situation. Some of them probably wouldn't want to come into this situation, and some we wouldn't want coming into this situation. So I'm pretty worried about our quarterback prospects coming into next season. So I give the future, or going into the future, I give the quarterbacks an F, and hopefully that improves significantly, quickly into the off season, because the longer we go with question marks at QB, just just the longer it is for other just not to be. Once we need to be able to settle on a QB and start working with him, get him working with the receivers and team as soon as possible, and really try and either bring in a QB that's already developed and established, or or bring in a QB that is a good candidate for fast development. Because I mean we agreed to this rebuild. We've sat through it for 3 years. Chris Jones has improved every year, but now we're sitting in year 4 and we don't have a QB. So something, we need to have something significant, either a significant significant prospect type that has a fast track for his development, or somebody that's already ready to go and is willing to come here for. I mean, with our defense, I don't know if we're going to be able to go after some of the higher priced QBs, but it's one of the areas that needs to be addressed. With the highest priority in the offseason. Moving to running back, Murray's grade was a B, and Papa Bear's grade would be, I'd settle in at a B plus, just to be difficult. Throw the plus and minuses in there, but I pretty much agree with what he was saying. Man, getting thiggy with it this year. 3 80-plus yard plays, 2 runs, and a kickoff or punt return. It's like, man, and he 32 years old with his speed. I mean, that's when his age is when running backs were supposed to be declining. But I mean, Thiggy's still one of the fastest guys in the league. I'd put him up there in a race with the fastest guys. I mean, his speed is just. It is just so fun to watch him, to get the ball and break away from defenders. So it was awesome to watch. He did a great job this season, carrying the ball. And we just locked him up, obviously pretty much right after the Western semifinals. So nice to have him locked in. We know that we have a weapon like Thiggy, so we can craft the offense to utilize him better. And because with his speed, you got to be able to find ways to use that, because it can just break down and destroy defenses. Trey Mason, I thought kept looking better as the season went on. He broke off some really nice runs, with his spins and his cuts. I thought he looked. I thought he looked good at times, but kept looking better, and it just sucks that he had to pick up an injury right towards the end of the season. But I'm excited to see what he can do with a year of experience under his belt, and an off season to prepare and train, and now that he knows the game, the CFL game. So really looking forward to see what he can do for us next year. And Cam Marshall really stepped up in the second half of the season. Just pounding the rock when we needed to, and when Trey Mason went down with his injury, Cam Marshall was able to step up. So that was just a 3-headed beast. That was our running game really helped keep the offense from losing games, because at times when the defenses the other team's secondary had kind of had a read on our quarterbacks, and the passing game wasn't going as well, that running game just man. So when we needed some breathing room, and we needed the offense to put a little drive together to give the defense a chance to breathe, we'd break off a nice 12-15 yard run or something. So excuse me, I was really happy with the running backs this year, and I think we should be able to bring back all 3. So it's I think that's going to be a big thing for whatever quarterback comes in here, to know that he has a foundation of a great running back crew that can, take the heat off him for as far as the defense, and also pick up some much needed yards and first down when we need it. So I'm really excited about I thought our running backs had a great year, and I'm really excited about their prospects going into next year. And Spencer Moore, man, legit stud fullback. He can catch the ball. He can truck guys to create lanes. It's just such a huge X factor that sometimes goes underappreciated with everybody else getting the spotlight. But Spencer Moore is such a great player. And my grade for the future is an A, because with signing Thigpen, and I believe everybody's under contract. It's just, I think that with another year of experience, another year of playing together, it's just going to be that they're just going to be that much better. So I think the future is really, really bright for running backs. It was a great year, and I think it's going to be another great year moving into next year. Next up, talk about the wide receivers. Murray's grade this year was a C+, and Papa Bear's grade is going to go with a C. And I thought the wide receiver crew played. They played really good at times, but they also had some really bad drops at some crucial times too. So it's not all of it was their fault. They're working with some quarterbacks that were struggling, an offense that was struggling with game plans and schemes. But but it was just it would seem that they would play guys would play well and they would make some good catches, and all of a sudden they'd make just a really big drop that would be at a crucial time that would stand out as like, oh man, there were a couple of them that to me were just momentum killing drops that really hurt the offense and hurt the quarterback's confidence in the game. So but our receivers are young. It's a young crew. They've never played together before. Lots of these guys first year in the league, so gonna have growing pains, it's one of the reasons why I'm so excited for next year and going forward, because another year of playing together in the experience, and a lot of guys had low touchdown totals, and that's not going to be something that stays the same. That's going to explode for at least 2 or 3 of these guys. So I'm looking forward to the future for our wide receivers. Need to re-sign Naaman Roosevelt. Had a tough year dealing with injuries and things like that. But such a great player, such an X factor for the offense, and he's that veteran receiver that the younger wide receivers can look to when games are getting a little crazy, or it's getting to one of those tough, intense games where you got to dig down. So I really hope we re-sign Naaman. But my grade for the future and for wide receivers is an A, because I just think that with another year of experience and an off season to prepare, and hopefully with a better, with a quarterback that's, it was tough. Caleros was looking good and then picked up injuries, and probably picked up that injury early, the concussion, and probably was never the same for the rest of the year, even though he was able to come back and play. So it's I don't want to say with better quarterback play the receivers might, but it's maybe more consistent. If we're able to avoid the injuries that we had this year with our quarterbacks, and have a guy that's worked with the offense from early in the offense, or early in the off season. So, and it can come in earlier and connect and start working with the wide receivers. But I think it's a very bright future for the wide receivers, and I just hope that we can get a quarterback that can unleash them all over the field, because I think this crew could be so dangerous with a passing attack that's like playing 50 yards in, not 20 or 15, which seemed like the playbook that we were using at times. So bright future, I think, ahead for wide receivers. Talking about maybe the most important position on the field, certainly certainly the offense, the O-line, the Hogs. Murray's grade for the O-line this year was a B, and Papa Bear's grade this year, I gotta go with an A. I gotta give it to him, because our O-line this year tied for fewest sacks allowed in the league with Calgary. So that's with big time injuries, especially down the stretch. So for us to be finished tied for first, I think is a huge accomplishment. I think we would have been alone in first, no doubt about it, with a total that might have approached a record. But unfortunately, we picked up some brutal injuries down the stretch, and that's where a lot of our sacks came in, was in the last third of the season. But man, just big time props and respect for so many guys gutted through injuries, and I mean everybody does through the season. But there were a couple times where you figured this guy is going to be out for sure for at least a few games, and sometimes didn't leave the game, and if he did, I forget who it was, but I thought they left the game. I thought that was it, but they were ready to go the next game. So just huge respect for the for the Hogs on the O line, man, for grinding it out and just working through the injuries and to stay on the field and keep playing when the team needed them. And I just look at the they were able to provide a lot of protection for our quarterbacks, even though the passing numbers don't match up, but the running game was such a huge part of it, and the running game goes nowhere if the offensive line isn't opening lanes. So I mean, they were just dominant opening lanes. They gave our quarterbacks time to work through their struggles, and I thought that's why I had to settle on an A, just because tied for fewest sacks in the league, and really the only reason that we didn't finish first is because we had lots of injuries down the stretch. But with what they did for the running game and the sacks, it's just I mean really what more can you really improve on? I mean it's they fewest sacks, and they put our running backs in position to succeed. So for me, I had to settle on an A, and but I agree with what Murray was saying in his write up about them. We definitely need to address our Canadian depth, because as we saw, it can take a snap of a finger. All of a sudden, you go from a place of where you're very strong, and then all of a sudden, bam, injuries happen, and all of a sudden you're just completely weakened on that part of the line. So gotta shore up our Canadian depth, and hopefully can find some of that in the draft this year, because that's one of the that's where, for me, that's where the focus has to be for Canadian draft, is like O-line, linebackers, safeties, things like that, because that's to me is where that's to me is where you're gonna get the best Canadian talent, best Canadian depth, and it's just so crucial when you can fill out your team with talented elite Canadians at those kind of positions, especially at O-line. So I really like to see them address the Canadian depth in the off season. But future prospects, for me, I got to give it an A. I think most of the guys are signed up, and with everybody coming back healthy, hopefully it'll just be a fierce competition for starting jobs, making sure that the players that do get the jobs are playing at an elite level. So, and I mean, I have faith that Chris Jones obviously knows the importance of the O-line, so he's going to make sure to address the areas that we need, the depth, and maybe bringing in another starter. So it's I'm very positive for the future outlook. That's why I gave it an A, and that's why I'm just really anxious about us finding a great quarterback, because we got the running backs, got the receivers, we got the O-line. We just need kind of a big piece to not have, but we need that quarterback. And if we can get a gunslinger, I think the O-line can give him time to gunsling. The running backs can take the heat off him from the defense and pick up some of those crucial first downs and tough yards that you need to win some of those tough games. So I'm looking forward to the future for the O-line. Just need to find that quarterback. Moving on to the defense, starting with the D-line. Murray's grade was an A, and Papa Bear just has to be difficult and give it an A+. Because, man, like with what I mean, obviously they could have our guys had high sack totals, but I mean, conceivably they could have been higher to justify the A. But man, the defensive line was just absolutely dominant this year. They literally won a game for us. Like, that game was, I mean, the offense did nothing in that game. It was all defense, and then whoever was going to make a mistake, unfortunately for them, fortunately for us, Riley made the mistake, Big Willie style, turned that into a touchdown. And like the stupid idiots like trying to give him crap for running along the line, wasting time to get in the end zone. That probably saved us because Riley completed that big Hail Mary to get him down. And if Willie had not done that, probably there would have been a few seconds on the clock, and who knows what would have happened. So the defensive line literally won us a game. I mean, you can't, not by just dominance. They literally did by getting that interception. So to me, no way you can give them anything but an A for that one. And it was for that was Mosaic Stadium is still new. So to me, that is one of the first legendary moments of at New Mosaic Stadium, because man, like that was just such an exciting, intense game. The playoff significance of that made it just like you just were going out of your mind waiting for the Riders to take control again. And then finally, when just like Edmonton has the ball and you're thinking, here we go, they're gonna drive, boom, that interception, man, we just went nuts in the stands. It was to me, it was even obviously you want to win the Grey Cup every year, but as long as the team can provide some moments like that throughout the season, I got my money's worth as a fan. I mean, no team's gonna win the Grey Cup every year. No team's gonna win every playoff game they have at home or on the road. Like their teams are gonna struggle and lose, but moments like that give you your money's worth as a fan. And for me, that game, and there was lots of others, but that game for sure gave me my money's worth as a season ticket holder. So I was huge props to the defensive line this year. And man, I gotta say, Willie Jefferson got absolutely robbed for Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, Big Hill had a great year. He's a great elite player, but he did how many games did he win? Did he literally win for the Bombers? Like, how many game-winning touchdowns did he have? Willie Jefferson's a defensive lineman, and he had 2 interceptions for touchdowns. 1 to win the game. He had a fumble recovery for a touchdown. Like, I just don't understand how they could justify giving that to anybody else. And Big Hill's stats weren't over and above Willie's. Like, I mean, they played 2 different positions, but it wasn't like Big Hill had, like, I just don't think he had stats to justify it over Willie. Willie literally won a game he's a defensive lineman and won a game with an interception for a touchdown. So and I mean, he dominated. He had like 15 sacks, I think the number is. Like he was an absolute menace to quarterbacks all season. So I thought that was a no-brainer that Willie Jefferson was Defensive Player of the Year. So I thought completely raw. And I mean, I'm not not taking anything away from Big Hill. He's a great player. He is a game changer on the field himself. But I mean, stats are stats. And I mean, well, if you look at the season, I just think it's a no-brainer that Willie Jefferson would be it. But I just had to mention that. I thought it was a complete and total robbery for Big Willie style. And man, was it nice to see Charleston Hughes dominating for us instead of against us. And he certainly dominated this season. I mean, only just, it was really, really kind of a really big letdown to have that DUI situation come up. But, I just thank God that it can be a teaching moment for him, especially in the position that he's in. And because I mean, you're a Saskatchewan Rough Rider in Regina. You could open up the white pages, but you could literally get in the phone book, scroll down, call any number in there, and say, hey, it's Charleston Hughes. I need a ride. I'm too drunk. Could you pick me up and give me a ride? Sure, man. It'll be right there. Like, it's no excuse for that. And that was right by my house too. So. And it's tough. I feel, I do not have any leniency or mercy or anything for, drunk drivers or anything like that. They've affected my family, but at the same time, a lot of love for Charleston Hughes, and it's tough. You don't want to vilify him and totally rake him over the coals, but at the same time. It is what it is. You do the crime, you do the time. You gotta walk the got to walk the walk. So and I mean, he is doing it. He's he stepped up and said he was wrong. He made a mistake, and I'm sure he's going to be in the off season working with groups like MAD and things like that to put more awareness out there that even guys in professional athletes can make mistakes, and when you're drunk, you're not thinking clearly. So always just have that safety plan of making sure before you go out you have a ride home. Don't wait until you're already drunk, because man, everybody that's been drunk, like when you're somewhere you don't want to be, you just want to go home. You just want to be home, and you think you have the confidence. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. So it's like, I mean, you got to have that safety net of either not bringing your vehicle, or giving your keys away at the start of the night, or setting up a ride to I know I'm going to be drinking and not in this state to drive home, so I'm going to have a ride to make sure that when I need you can be right there, so when I want to leave we're gone and I don't have to stay somewhere I don't want to be. But it's got thank God it's a teaching moment, and it's not nothing tragic happens. So it's it's hopefully he really steps up and works to put awareness out there that your decision making is not right. Your decision making is not right minded when you're drunk. So make your arrangements before, put your safety net in place before you start drinking. That way, once you're drinking, you're just not going to be able to get behind the wheel. But so disappointing end of the season into a very exciting, great season. But teaching moments like this can go a long way. And if this moment can save other people from getting behind the wheel when they're drunk, then it can turn into a good thing. So so definitely standing behind and supporting Charleston Hughes, but wanting to make sure that he stands up and owns his actions and the consequences of his actions. So and oh man, and losing Michael Brooks like 2 games after the season was that was one of those why us, like always the Riders moments. But still the defensive line was just, and like they were the reason why we I mean, obviously the whole team had to come together, but I mean the defensive line and the defense was the reason why we were able to be in the position to win 12 games and host a playoff game. So excuse me, I got to give them an A+ performance on that. And but unfortunately, Big Willie Style and Zach Evans, it was great to see him back in green and white. But both those guys are free agents, so I mean with both having great years, it's going to be tough to try with all the other positions we have to address. It's going to be tough to be able to bring both these guys back, but hopefully we can find a way somehow to bring them both back, because it's just our defense was so dominant, man. I just don't want to. I want to keep this group together. I want to see how dominant we can really be. A steel curtain type. Let's get a green. The green and white steel curtain, I just think with Chris Jones is a great defensive coordinator, and with elite talent, he can just unleash the absolute fury on opposing offenses. So I want to keep this defense together, but it's going to be tough to sign both Big Willie Style and Zach Evans, but somehow, some way, hopefully we can get her done. And that's why my grade for the future is a B+. Because even though Chris Jones is a great defensive mind, it's not easy. You don't just find players like Big Willie Style and Zach Evans every day. So if we lose one, or God forbid both of those guys, definitely things will be on a lot shakier ground than they were last season. So future, a little bit nervous about the future, but still have faith that Chris Jones can bring in talent, but I really want to see this group stay together. Moving on to linebackers, Murray's grade is a B, and Papa Bear has to agree with him and settle in with a B as well. I thought the linebackers played great for the most part. A majority of the time I was looking great, but they did give up some big plays at crucial times. They, allowed some running backs to break off some big runs. So there was that kind of kept their grade down away from A, because man, at times our linebacking crew was dominant, like trucking guys for hits, interceptions, shutting down running plays, and it was just it was just suffocating coverage in the middle, not allowing these guys to catch those passes and move the chain. So, but it was just they'd play great, and then all of a sudden in some of the games we lost, giving up some crucial plays and runs. But you can, with a better offense, those struggles might not have led to losses. So it's definitely not on them. Just talking about the season, you're talking about the positives and negatives. So one of the negatives was gave up some big plays at crucial times, but man, for the most part, played great defense. And before this, in the season preview, talked Sam McGuavin. Man, I certainly know his name now and how to say it, because he stepped up and emerged as a really great defensive player. And Derek Moncrief also really looked great. Really sucked when he went down and got injured. It seemed his injury kind of the team kind of struggled to replace him when he got injured. But he was another player that really stepped up. And but Sam Hurl coming back to the Riders, had a really good year. It was just, I thought, our linebacking crew had a really good year, and with a better offense, some of their struggles might not have led to losses. So I'm looking forward. I'm excited about our linebacking crew coming in next season. However, there are some red flags. Guavin and Hurl are both free agents. So with having to sign Big Willie Style and Zach Evans on the D line, are we going to be able to bring back both Guavin and Hurl? That's going to be tough. It's like, it just sucks to have to make these decisions coming into the off season, because this group played so well together, and I want to see them be as complete as possible. But that is the reality of the business of sports, and teams sometimes you can't keep them all together like you want. So my future grade, I'm going to settle it in on the same one that I gave their performance, a B. I think we have some good guys still under contract, and if we can sign one or both of Guavin and Hurl, we'll be rocking and rolling. So it's just, with a better offense, I think our linebacker crew will, I don't think they'll have as the same struggles as they did last year, but if the ones that they do, I don't think will lead to some losses next year as they did this year. As long as we have a little bit better, as long as we have a better offense, I think it will really help our linebacking crew. Moving on to DB, Murray's grade is a B, and Papa Bear's grade is gonna settle in on a B as well. Got to agree with him again. This was really a tale of two seasons for the DBs, pre-Carter and post-Carter. And man, the Deron Carter end with the Riders was such a sad deal, man. Like, you could tell he loved being a Rider so much. Rider Nation loved having him. He was so open and connected. So open, and he just was so positive about connecting with the fans and going out of his way to give them moments. And it just sucks to see a player like that was so happy and embraced Rider Nation so much to leave and leave the way he did. To be just released without anything mid-season. So I mean, it was just he held it down okay in the secondary. Definitely struggled a lot at times, led to some of the losses. But it's just so weird. We brought all these players at these camps, and Chris Jones was this defensive mind, yet he couldn't find a real defensive back to step in and play. So it was so frustrating to have Carter there. And I think tinfoil hat thing, maybe the problems between Duran and McAdoo were so great that Jones felt he just wanted him on the defense, away from McAdoo in the offense. And because that's when he finally went back to the offense, that's when everything kind of blew up, I guess, and led to the incident. I guess he had a little bit of a confrontation with McAdoo over schemes or playing time, or I don't know what it was, but I think they had a little bit of an argument, and that led to, one of those, not, this isn't big enough for the both of us, so, Deron Carter had to go because Chris Jones and McAdoo are, pretty tight, they're best friends and been working together for a long time, so Carter was the one that had to pay the price, and, it sucked because, we wanted to, liked having him as part of Rider Nation. And he was a great receiver, so, as definitely didn't want to lose him there, but it is what it is. So it's, but once healthy, our DBs, look great. And, it seemed like we had depth. so I think the Carter, a lot of the Carter thing was keeping him away from offense, because a lot of the issues that were happening for the DBs when he was here weren't really happening after, so it's but really a tale of two seasons. Like after Carter, when everybody got healthy and came back, defense played great, had some really key interceptions, and we're shutting down other wide receivers. Just like they were like the linebackers, they had played great, and then they give up a big crucial play like that. And it was, that was some part of that is because the offense sometimes can't sustain drives. It keeps giving the ball backs. You can only play great defense for so long. Eventually, the offense is going to find a crack in it. And, that's seen what would happen. They'd play great, and then all of a sudden, the offense would just find that little seam, and it'd be, 60-yard touchdown or something. So, but, Edom and Gainey had really good seasons. Gainey didn't match his 11 interceptions, but he had some big ones, and he had some great, he performed great in coverage. So, it was just a really good season for the for the secondary, and man, Nick Marshall and Purifoy were game changers at times. Like Nick Marshall, what a season he had in the secondary. Special teams, sneaking in touchdowns for the offense. Like this guy was just all over the board. Such a dangerous player. One of my favorite new riders that emerged last season. But unfortunately, Edom and Purifoy are free agents, so we definitely need to try and get those guys back. It seems at least two or three guys on every single section that we need to, every single position we need to replace. So it's going to be tough to be able to bring all these guys back. We're going to lose at least a few of them. So, but I just just really hope that we're able to bring as many of them back as possible, because the thing with the secondary, the more you play together, the more experience you have, the better you're going to be. So I think future grade for the future for me is a B. I think that I think we still have an exciting future, and as long as we're able to re-sign one or two of those guys and bring in some talent, so that we can replace anybody that leaves. We should be good to go. For the most part, I think the secondary will be staying together. So I think it's I have pretty high hopes for our DBs next year. But we'll see how the off season is with re-signing and things like that. Moving on to special teams, Murray's grade is a B, and Papa Bear has to give it a B plus, just to be difficult. But, man, speaking of knowing people's names now, Brett Lawther, the Dreadlot. I was trying to think of some nickname to play off his name, and settled on the Dreadlot. But, man, what a beast of a year, man. It's just crushing field goals, and missed this first of the year. It's kind of like, oh great, but after that was absolute money, especially from long distances. Crushed a 55-yarder, I think it was this year. Like it was just a great year, and it is, man, it is, you cannot overstate how important it is to have a kicker you don't have to worry about. Like that you can just send out there and know you're going to put 3 on the board when you need it, and that's what we had with Brett Lawther. It was just an awesome. This is a great season from him, and with Krapenia is going to be coming back, so it'll be interesting to see which way the Riders go, if they'll stick with Lawther or if Krapenia will kind of have his run into having a having someone come in and steal his thunder. So it's going to be interesting to see which way the Riders go in the off season. But Blotherman, 90% connected on over 90% of his field goals, 56% of the Riders' points. I mean, talk about one of the reasons why we were able to be 12-6. Like, really helped out the defense. Putting points on the board to at least put the defense in a position to hold on to a lead and win the game. So can't say enough about having a great kicker, and we have the chance to choose from two. So it's a problem, but it's a good problem to have. And we cashed in 4 touchdowns, which is huge, but we also allowed 4, so kind of sucks to balance it out, which is why I couldn't really push it to an A. But man, they changed the game with some of those 4 that we cashed in. So had to give them a high grade because it's just so kick returns, special teams touchdowns are so exciting. But we've had some very, very sparse years where it's just like no special teams touchdown is not even close to reality. So very exciting to have 4, and hopefully we can clean up the ones that we allow and put on at least match that number next year. And so if we do that, we are going to be in a position to win 12 games or even more. And man, Kyron Swerve Moore coming on the scene. I really hope he's able to turn this season into a great career and not just kind of maybe a one and done, because it's to me he's young, and with how quick he is and with how dangerous he can be. Don't set the bar too high, but I'm just hoping that maybe he could be like a gizmo for us. Just that dangerous returner that teams don't want to kick to, that can change the game on the drop of a dime. So I'm really excited for him to have another year of experience under his belt, see what he can do next year. And man, Thiggy with the rare kick return for a TD. You see lots of punt returns, but kick returns sometimes are few and far between. So it was nice for us to get one with Thigpen. Just another reason why we had to resign him. So dangerous. And punting was good. Some of those Bartel punts don't look exactly pretty, but man, he puts them where they need to be because our coverage was right there. I thought we had great coverage both ways in creating lanes to get some good field position and to keep other teams from getting good field position. So I thought the special teams across the board did a great job. It was just like a lot of areas, played great, but a few crucial times allowed some bad plays and touchdowns. So kept it from the higher grade, but still thought we had a great year. And then for the future, I just think it's a B, because Craig Dickinson is up for interviews for a lot of the open head coaching jobs. So if we lose him, that's a huge loss. Not easy to replace a coach like that, but we want him to get more opportunities and get to the highest level he wants, but selfishly we want him here. So got to see what happens with that before what we know we'll get with special teams. But still think there's a bright future. Just got to see what coach we'll have. And then moving on to the coaches, Murray's grade for the coaches, he gave them overall a B. I'm going to give each one a grade. For head coach Chris Jones, I'll give him a B, because I think he needed better management of the offense. I think he needed to, really push McAdoo to change up schemes or to utilize schemes a little bit better at times this season. So even though our D and special teams were great, I thought he needed a little bit more better managing of the offense. Offensive coordinator, I have to give an F. I know he's a big lightning rod. Everyone's piling on McAdoo lately, but I really believe he deserves an F. I think he handcuffed Bridge in Bridges starts this year. I don't know why. I don't know if they don't like Brandon Bridge or if they whatever, but they really handcuffed him, did not put him in a position to succeed. So I had to give him an F for this. I just don't think he did that great of a job. I really think that a bonehead play call. I really think that his call in the playoffs, 2nd and 3, Riders are grinding it out, and all of a sudden we throw a big long pass. The game was not the same after that. So it's I know didn't have at times the quarterbacks did not instill confidence in a coordinator. But at the same time, it was I thought he could have put the guys in. I thought he could have changed up schemes and been a little bit more. Just opened up the playbook a little bit more, opened up the field. At least try. Like, seemed like at times he would rather lose and not try than lose and try, which is like, I cannot support that. So I did not. Hopefully McAdoo, Chris Jones, not going to fire him. He's his best bud. But if I had my best friend on the staff, I certainly would not be afraid to tell him, you know what, you are sucking right now, and you need to step your ass up to my defense and special teams level, because I'm sick of it. Like, let's go here, get your schemes going, get your offense going, figure things out, because get your shit together. Like, I hopefully he's not afraid to tell him that, because that's what needs to happen. Defensive coordinator, definitely give him an A. Dominant. His schemes were just owning offenses all year, keeping us in games, allowing us to win 12 games. Can't say enough great things. The defense is the MVP, so got to give Chris Jones an A on his performance as a coach for sure. Special teams coach Craig Dickinson, got to give him a B plus, because I just cut down in returns, and he'd definitely be able to hit the highest grade. But I thought when you balance out 4 returns with 4 given up, you can't really settle on an A. But coverage is great both ways, and if Craig comes back, I think our special teams are going to be staying at that high clip, if not even better than last year. So. And just looking on into the future, we need a QB. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. And it looks like I don't think Mike Riley is an option. I don't know if we can pay him as much as he wants and keep our defense together. And I don't know if he want. I think he's. The rumor is he's not a fan of McAdoo's system, so I don't know if he'd come here. The big QB people think we're going to get is Jonathan Jennings. People think that Riley might go to BC, and then BC will move on from Jennings. So, excuse me. Logical place for him to land would be here. I like Chris Streveler in Winnipeg, but he's re-signed there, and Winnipeg is in love with Streveler. So if they got rid of him or let him go, there would be a riot. So. And Johnny Manziel, I think he's got potential to play in this league. I thought he did improve as the season went on this year, but he's a lightning rod for controversy. And I think a lot of Rider Nation think that he's, I don't know, maybe thinking towards the worst parts of his character. I don't know. I didn't really see it. I just heard some reports that maybe he wasn't as super popular in the locker room, but from what I saw, he was fine. Leaving the field early, that's you definitely don't want to see that. But I don't think they would bring him in. But if the chips are down and Jennings doesn't come here, they may try and go that route. So it'll be interesting to see what we do. We have to do something. And so there's not a lot of surefire options out there. So it's going to be at least one question mark, no matter what we do. And we got to find a QB. If we cannot go into can't even approach training camp if we don't have a solid QB. So it's just too good of a team built right now to be worrying about QB. So hopefully we can just find one and not have to worry about it, and really rock and roll to the full potential of this team. To do that, got to keep the defense together, so a lot of the free agent money has to be spent on the defense. It's going to be tough with how good a seasons these guys had, but hopefully we're able to just figure it out and keep the defense together. Like I said before, hopefully Craig Dickinson stays. He's such a great special teams coach that he just gives us a best chance to turn a great season into a great cup next year. Like I said, Jones needs to light a fire under McAdoo and get him to figure out how to succeed with whatever quarterback comes through, because the goal of an offensive coordinator to create an offense that any QB could step into and be successful with. So need to have a much better performance from the offensive coordinator next year. And man, please announce us as Grey Cup 2020 hosts. Like, we will do it big, we'll do it right. Hamilton and Montreal can follow after that. But it's just right. We just built our stadium. The time is right, and just we're gonna do it right. Please give the Riders the 2020 Grey Cup. And once we get the Grey Cup, I am starting the campaign. Kiss needs to be the halftime show. It would be such a jacked up, exciting thing. Even if the Riders, hopefully they better be in it. But if they're not, it would be something to bring people to the game excited for. Kiss is a generational band. Riders are a generational team. I just think it would be one of the most exciting things that they could announce. I know Kiss is a Canadian band, whatever. CFL is not. I mean, CFL is, yeah, it's a Canadian league, but we're just about, we're, I don't know, putting on the best show, trying to put on the best football, the best performances, the best entertainment, and Kiss would definitely help provide that. And lots of fans, got people close to us, Brother Tony, Food Truck Trevor, Big Al, their crew all dress up in the Kiss costumes. So it's Kiss is kind of as a link to Rider Nation. I just starting the campaign now, but I really hope they give us the 2020 Grey Cup. And so talking about the CFL, moving on to the CFL as a whole, my grade for the CFL this year is a C. It would have been. It would have been higher if not for the brutal end of the season the officials had. Thought for the most part the officials had a good season as far as calling penalties. Didn't notice as much talk about it, but towards the end of the season, man, they let our QBs get brutalized on those hits. So it's just, you can't give them anything but a lower grade for that. And missing hits like that cannot happen. I don't care what anyone says. There should be. Quarterback has the ball. There should be no reason why not one referee can see a brutal hit like that. And props to the league for trying to step up and change things to keep players safe. Because you don't want rules always changed mid-season, but to keep players safe, whatever, man. Like, it has to be done. And my big problem with the hit is that if Willis or Jeff or whatever his name is, if those two guys make a football tackle and go out and try and hit him at the waist and wrap him up, if they make a football tackle and don't try and body check his head, then he's probably fine. It gives him a chance to brace his fall, and they still tackle him. They still make a good hit, but quarterbacks aren't half dead. So it's like. I think that we're moving to a point where they're gonna have to take body check style hits out of football because you just can't do it anymore. Like somebody's gonna get hit so hard they're not gonna wake up, and so they're gonna have to say you have to tackle with wrapping up with your arms. You cannot tuck your arm and body check anymore. That's gonna be what has to move to. But man, I don't want to talk about the negativity too much. Have to address it, but. Moving to positivity, so pumped to hear that we have a 10th team named the Atlantic Schooners, baby. Oh man, I think that they are gonna give Rider Nation a run for its money for support. Like that Atlantic, we've been waiting so long to get a team in the Atlantic area, and now the CFL can truly be a coast-to-coast league, and I'm just so excited to get them in the league and get them going. So hopefully everything with getting them a stadium and putting the team together and getting things moving forward. Hopefully there's no snags or too much trouble, and hopefully it's just easy and moves forwards like it should. But I'm just so pumped for it, and they've already got season tickets. People committed for season tickets, so I'm so excited that this is finally moving forward, and hopefully it doesn't have many things that are holding it up. They can get into a good stadium for them, and I'm just so excited to finally have that 10th team. We can be a complete league and just really start to move forward and try and grow this league as big as possible. And speaking of that, I'm on board with this Mexico deal that CFL is trying to do. I haven't looked into it in depth much as I want to, but we have to figure out ways to grow the game, and it's the only way we're going to survive. And even though the CFL is, it's a grassroots league. We have to figure out different ways to support it, to support it and make it to keep it growing and bringing it into other countries for viewership and maybe bringing players in so they have a reason to watch us. It's just a good thing, and we have to be careful about playing games because you saw they were going to play Monday Night Football there, but the field conditions were too bad. So, and the CFL is not like the NFL. We don't have $1 billion league to just turn things around in a dime. So, we have to be very careful that playing conditions are up to par, and everything, all the conditions are up to par and things like that. But as long as that is all taken care of, I think this is nothing but a great thing, and I'm just really excited to try and get to try and grow the game. So I think this Mexico thing could be a good deal as long as it's done the right way. Labor troubles in the CFL, man. I'm not looking forward to this. Lots of dark clouds right now. The coaches are pissed about their new cap they're getting. Players are pissed that the coaches have been able to get, be paid so much, more than the players can get. The teams that are struggling, or they're struggling to pay out players and stuff like that. So it's just sorry. Pause 1 second. Okay, sorry. But it's just there's three kind of dark clouds hanging over CFL labor troubles right now. I remember when the coaches are getting a pretty restrictive cap for the coaching salaries. I mean, the Riders are going to have to get rid of a bunch of coaches. A lot of coaches are going to have to take pay cuts, and I mean, I think it's a good thing, but they're going too far. Because I mean, I remember when this all came, when the coaching cap started to be talked about, I think was when the Riders hired Chris Jones and his staff. Like, they paid him so much money, and they paid the staff, and then they paid staff good chunks. The players were looking like, man, like we don't make, well, most of us don't make anything close to that. So I could see why the cap started to be talked about, but they're going too far. Like, the Riders can't even run mini camps in the U.S. anymore, and like, this just allows us to bring new players into the league. I mean, especially with two more football leagues trying to come in, that's just gonna thin out the player pool anyways. So, and I mean, it was a struggle. It was a transition for the quality of the game of adding a 9th team. 10th team is going to be the same thing. So it's we have to really focus on trying to grow the game, and things like that Mexico deal will only help with that. But I agree that there needs to be a cap on the coaches. We can't, for teams like the Riders that are making money, we can't just have them paying the coaches way more than the players. That's just not right. So I agree there should be a cap on salaries, but that cap affecting things like mini camps and stuff, that is a joke. And it's I mean, really, there shouldn't be that much of a limit on how many coaches you can pay. It's just, there should be a cap on the amount you can pay each coach, because, like, the more coaches you have, the better players are going to develop, and the better the play in the league is going to get, and and that's going to help the league grow. So I agree with what they're doing with the cap, but I think they're going too far and maybe not doing it in the right way. So they need to kind of take a look at that, and just fix the things that aren't right with it, and go forward with the ones that are. But that moves us into the players and the teams. With players obviously want to make more money as much as possible. Every team is not the Riders, like making big profits every off season. So it's teams are some teams are not in the position to be paying out more salaries. So it's and we have 3 teams that are struggling pretty bad in the biggest markets. Like, Montreal is struggling. That's a huge market. We have Toronto struggling. They're one of the biggest markets. So it's, those two, they have so many people in those cities that we should not have trouble filling the stadiums and getting people to watch the game. So, we need to, the fact that our biggest markets are struggling to, are some of our more struggling teams, to really give people what the landscape of the CFL is. And it's not like other leagues, um, and what we cannot have is a work stoppage. The player, obviously, there is a deal to be found, but the players need to realize that this is this is not a, CFL is, like, business wise, is not a big four league. Like, NHL and NFL and MLB and NBA, like, these all have solid foundations of billions of dollars and lots of billionaires. We have a couple of billionaires in our owners, but this CFL is not a billionaire funded league, and so the players need to understand need to understand the league when they're bargaining. It's just, they deserve. I want them to be paid as much as possible. Like, they are so underpaid, and like, with the amount of entertainment they provide, but a work stoppage cannot happen, because the CFL, people plan their vacations, people plan their year around the CFL schedule. Riders are playing on these weekends, so that's when we're gonna go camping on these. We're gonna go camping on these other weekends, and we're gonna do other things on this. And our team is playing in this city in this part of the year, so let's plan our vacation around that time, so we can get two birds stoned at once. See an away game, and also make it part of our vacation. So the CFL schedule is what a lot of fans plan their vacation around, and if they don't have a schedule to release because there's a work stoppage, then CFL is going to be SOL. Even if they come back and still play games, some people are going to be already, well, there's nothing I can do. We planned our vacation. We've already made plans, and we can't go back. People are going to be mad that all these players are not these. It gets so ugly, and we just cannot afford a work stoppage in the CFL. Like, we need to keep momentum going and building forward, and not playing games is not how you're going to be doing that. And so my big idea contribution to the labor discussions is to create to help to be able to. I think this helps both. I think it helps the players make a little more money, at the same time it doesn't bankrupt teams. Excuse me. My idea is to have one offensive player and one defensive player where that salary does not count against a salary cap. And you cap it around, I don't know, 750 or $1 million, whatever. You make it a big fancy number, but that number, the maximum amount would be, like, no more than $1 million, but maybe lower. But one offensive player and one defensive player's salary does not count against the salary cap. That way, the elite players can be paid, an elite towards an upper end elite salary, without it hurting the other team. At the same time, the CFL teams aren't in a situation where they're paying every single person on the team that amount. Not that the players do deserve that, but with the landscape of the CFL, can't pay everybody that. But I think teams could afford to have one player on offense and defense that they could pay, and that salary would not count against the cap. And so not only would it help the elite players, but even the players that don't get that elite, don't get that one of those two spots, they'd still make significant money, because the money that would have gone to pay under the cap to paying the elite player, all of a sudden that could be spread out to everybody else on the team and to other positions. So to me, I kind of sat down, thought about it, and that would be the best way to kind of address all the needs, and just to get just to get as many birds stoned at once. Shout out to Ricky from Trailer Park Boys. But I mean, and then we have to work. Once we work on, getting some of these teams' bottom lines raised up, and once there's no struggling teams in the CFL, I think that system would be just rock and roll, and teams would be elite players across. I mean, there would be what, 20 players. 20 once we have 10 teams, it'd be 20 players across the league making elite money, and then you'd also have that money would trickle down to everybody else because it wouldn't count against the salary cap. So that's my big idea. Obviously, I'm nowhere close to the negotiation table, so and I mean maybe ideas like that wouldn't fly. But I just think they need to think of something like that, because we can't just allow a free market, because teams like the Riders teams like the Riders already have a trouble in Regina. Bringing, it's easy for a player to come to the CFL and think, well, I can live in Calgary or Montreal or Toronto, and it's a big city, it's a mainstream city. It's it's easier to bring players there, and then it's like, well, I'm gonna come to Regina, Saskatchewan, and there's not much to do there, and I'm not gonna be making as much money. I'm gonna be putting my body on the line to play football. Riders are already in a tougher position, so I mean it kind of balances it out with the other teams that are kind of struggling. But once the other operations get the team's bottom lines up, then the playing field is, then the Riders are almost fall behind the eight ball, because that's what frustrates me about Regina. It's like, our mayor is basically a joke. Like, nothing is done in this city to move it forward as far as innovation or ideas like that. That's why it's too bad, like, the stadium was such a big thing, because we had a candidate, Mecca Okochi, that really had a lot of great ideas as a mayor to move the city forward and to do things like create things to bring people into Regina, and so you can't say there's nothing to do. I got lots of ideas. One of the reasons why I stay here is because if God ever gives me the chance to do things, I could really, this city is a gold mine for potential as far as ideas for things to do, and I got lots of that, but need a little thing called money. But that's kind of another thing. But I think that would help. I just think that would help level the playing field. And it would help attract. Excuse me. Sorry. I think it would help attract more players to the CFL, because one of the things that keeps players from the CFL is a lot of the college players that might be good enough to come up here and really do something. A lot of the jobs that they can get because of their college education pay them more than they'd make in the CFL. So it's just not really worth it to put your body on the line like that. But hopefully. But with a system like being able to pay one player on each side of the ball an elite salary, might be able to draw in more elite players from college, so that CFL looks like a more enticing destination. But we need to figure something out, because this league we have a lot of positive momentum, but we also have a lot of things that could be very, very bad for the league. And I mean, Rider Nation needs to learn this, but we all need to become CFL fans first. And we can't look at teams and laugh at them for low attendance and laugh at them for we have to be CFL fans first. We need a strong CFL across the board, every team, and then we can go back to worrying about obviously I'm never gonna stop giving Bummer fans crap, but it's just we just need to be CFL fans first, and we need that's going to create a great strong league. This is a great league. 3-down football is so much fun. It's such it's so different from 4-down football in the NFL. And the NFL and stuff, that it's like you can't compare them. It's like two different skill sets because of the big field as well. So it's just, I really want to see the world embrace CFL football, and I think it could get there. We just got to keep the momentum moving forward. Can't have work stoppages. We need to try and bring in, and not just fans. We got to try and maybe bring in more big money, like more billionaires that are fans of 3-down football. Maybe they can own some teams, or just we need to find some way to inject some money into the CFL so we have a solid foundation. And That's why I think Vince McMahon should just forget the XFL. And I mean, 3 down. You're not competing with the NFL. It's like taking down that juggernaut would require serious gambling and uh, fantasy impact. I mean, you're gonna have to have that right off the board, fantasy and gambling. And I mean, you're gonna have to do 3 down football better than the NFL, which is, I mean, good luck with that. So Vince McMahon should just forget about the XFL and, man, buy the Argonauts, because that's the thing about Toronto. Toronto fans they will only support mainstream cool, and the CFL is not mainstream cool. The Argos are not mainstream cool yet, but the Argos have been, and you see that when the Argos are mainstream cool, Argo fans will step up and support them. When John Candy and them bought the team, man, they were the hottest. They were one of the hottest tickets in Toronto. So it's like, if they just need a way to be mainstream cool. Like, Raptors had to hire Drake to be able to do it. So I mean, I don't know if hiring Drake would extend to the Argos, but like having an owner like if Vince McMahon owned the Argos, that the BMO field would be packed, and it would make sense for him. He could promote the WWE, anything WWE. 18 times a year for the Argo games, 9. You have WWE stuff all over. The home game promotions. Toronto is one of the biggest media markets in the world. And Vince McMahon would. I mean, I don't want him to own the CFL, because that man's vision for things is way off the map sometimes. But owning a team, for sure. So I mean, but we need something like that. Toronto needs mainstream cool to support it, and that's why nothing they do is going to work until they got to make the Argos mainstream cool. But I mean that's the biggest thing in Toronto, but it also is the case in Montreal and Calgary and Edmonton and BC. There's so much else going on that it's just, going to a CFL game is not mainstream cool. So, but we can get the game there. We can get all teams there. We just gotta really work for it. We gotta, and right now it starts with a good CBA labor deal. So hopefully they can come together and figure out something without having a work stoppage. Like, this should not be two sides battling each other. Like, this should be two sides that are willing to work together, because it's just too fragile to do something crazy like a work stoppage. So hopefully they're able to just get this all worked out, and we can have a solid foundation to build off, get this 10th team rolling, and really just grow the CFL into a worldwide game that it can be. Last but not least, Grey Cup preview. Got to save the best for last, and just a real short one, because I definitely talked not long enough. But I think my prediction for this game is I think Calgary starts off hot. I think they're really going to be wanting to erase this, just not only get this monkey off their back, but destroy it, get rid of no more talk about them choking or anything like that. So I think they're going to come out hot. I think eventually Ottawa's going to be able to push back, and it's going to give Calgary fans that here we go again feeling. But near the end, I think Calgary will put the pedal down, and crew, and I think Calgary is going to finally shake off that the struggles they've had locking down the Grey Cup. I think they're going to lock this one down. I think Bakari Grant is going to be the outstanding Canadian, because with their injuries at wide receiver, they're going to need Bakari to step up, and I think Bo Levi is going to win the MVP. I think it's going to be his time to shine, and I think it's going to end up Calgary 36, Ottawa 31, and so. Should be a great game. The fans are going to be giving it a great atmosphere, because, like I say, my pops and his crew are down there geared up head to toe, ready to go. So it's going to be a great game, great atmosphere. And next stop for 2019 is Grey Cup in Calgary. Hopefully I'll be able to make that one. But it's just, Grey Cup is one of the most underrated parties in Canada. Hopefully, because of how great Edmonton is doing it this year, everybody will learn that, and it'll just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But that's going to end it for me today. Hopefully everybody is watching the game tonight, and hopefully it's a great game. And, just want to see and hopefully, but hopefully the Riders the CFL can get this labor situation locked down, get a solid foundation. That's a good deal for coaches, players, and teams, and we can build this league into the great, strong league that it is and that it can be. So that's it for me today. Thanks everyone for coming along for the ride, and we'll see you soon down the road. Much love and God bless. Peace.